But I mentioned, that this is a Severe Weather Awareness Week, but here in Charlotte, it's also Creek Week. And we have a special guest in studio today. I want to welcome in Taylor from Charlotte-Mecklenburg Stormwater Services. They do a great job. First of all, Taylor, tell us what Creek Week is all about and what folks should know about creeks here in Mecklenburg County.
I would love to. So Creek Week is our annual celebration of our waterways around Mecklenburg County. And we celebrate that through volunteerism, education, and environmental stewardship. So us and a number of partners, including the library, the nature preserves, Carolina Thread Trail, we try to partner with as many people as we can so that we can host an event every day of the week. Yeah. So Creek Week takes place the last week of March, which is March 21st to the 28th, and we have something for everyone.
Yeah.
We're kicking it off with our first ever stormwater runoff 5K at Water Nature Preserve. That'll be on the 21st. We have learn to fish events for all age groups and all expertise levels. We have things for the littles. We've got story time where we'll bring our mascot Stormy off. And then we end the week with our big spring clean. So we've got 8 cleanup sites, stream cleanup sites around the county. There's bound to be one near you, and we get people in some waders, get them in the creek, and try to remove as much litter as possible.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting. We were talking before the show started about, Mecklenburg County's got a lot of creeks. I mean, there's a lot of waterways here. It's pretty stunning. I think people would be shocked how many miles there are. If folks go to the greenways, you probably know some of these creeks based on the greenways. But talk a little bit about the number of creeks and how they're really important to not only our ecosystem, but also stormwater, because they really remove a lot of the water runoff that we have in Mecklenburg County.
Yes, our creeks are so important. One, for our safety. They help move that water off of our streets and move them towards the Catawba River. They're important for wildlife. In Mecklenburg County, we have a little over 3,000 miles of stream and lake shoreline, so that's a lot of water moving through the system at all times. And yeah, we see our creeks by our greenways, but we also have pipe tributaries running through uptown. We have really small creeks that you might not think is a creek running beside your home. So I always tell people you're not that far, and it's important to be aware of where they are because you can have an effect on them.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing I like to tell people is, those storm drains, which everyone are familiar with outside your house, in your street, those all go to the creeks.
Yep.
And so when people are dumping stuff in their driveway or their yard or out in the street, they got to think about that. That's eventually going to end up in our creeks, right?
Absolutely. It's a common misconception that people think something magical happens when they go into those storm drains.
It goes to like some cleaning area first before it goes there?
Nope, they go straight to the outfall to our nearest waterway, unfiltered, and so everything it picks up with it that goes into those storm drains ends up in our creeks.
Hey Taylor, Tim Buckley here in Greensboro. This is good stuff that you're doing, and across North Carolina we love our waterways. What are some of the biggest no-nos or the biggest things that you see people doing when you're doing these cleanup efforts? What are the things you're finding the most of, and what are the things you want to discourage people from doing the most at home on a daily basis?
Lots of no-nos. We find the most interesting things in the streams. We find plastic and different types of plastic. So we've got plastic bottles and plastic bags, which are sometimes the hardest to remove from the streams because they get caught up in everything. So I would love to encourage reusable water bottles and reusable bags when you go shopping, and always remember you're never that far from a trash can. Put your trash in a trash can, drive it to the place, and then put it in the trash can.
Yeah, you mentioned, the cleanups, which I think are great. I've seen them, and it is really cool because you can wade in there and really make a difference by cleaning up some of these creeks. I think people are familiar with adopting roadways to clean up litter. It's kind of similar, right? But we're doing it on a creek.
That's right. We have Adopt-A-Stream.
Yeah, which is great. But talk a little bit about what folks can do at their house, because I'm a big proponent of this, and we often say this, Tim, I don't know if you do this on the air, but when we know that we're going to get heavy rain, I'll tell people, hey, go clean around your storm drains.
That's
clean out are there other things people can do around their storm drains that would help you guys, but also help prevent flooding?
Yes, absolutely. So anytime before a rain event, clearing your storm drain, just the top of the grate, just getting all the debris and leaves and potentially trash off of there, bagging it and either having it collected if it's yard waste or putting it in your trash can really helps keeping that debris from going into the storm drain and possibly blocking drainage, which can cause localized flooding. You can also secure your trash cans if we're going into a hurricane or a super windy season, so your trash can doesn't end up getting flipped over and all your trash gets blown around. That all those small things really do have a big impact.
Hey, Taylor, one of the things Brad and I have been talking about, and really meteorologists across the state over the last several months now, is that we're not getting enough rain, and we have been getting ourselves into trouble when it comes to a drought. Have you guys with stormwater been seeing any impacts from that in the creek system, in the stream system, and if so, what are you noticing?
That's a good question. I mean, the drought does affect the ecology of a stream. And so when we see low creek levels, we see impacts to wildlife habitat. We might see that it's harder for water to move through the system in our smaller waterways because there's not enough water to move it through. So all those things can have effects on the water quality.
Yeah, and on that same kind of topic, what kind of wildlife do you normally see in some of our creeks? I've seen some amazing things, but we're in this urban setting, and like when you go down one of these creek beds, it's almost like going out in the country. You almost see things you don't normally. What are some of the type of wildlife that people in the city might be shocked that are living in some of our creeks?
Oh my gosh, I've seen so many blue herons. They're always a beautiful and majestic thing to see when you happen upon a creek. We have lots of turtles here. We've got, that's why our mascot is Stormy the Turtle. So many turtles, huge turtles, big snapping turtles you can find just in Little Sugar Creek. All kinds of fish. We've got bass, we've got catfish. I mean, it's really a thriving environment. There are so many things from really small macroinvertebrate critters to the large blue heron.
One more thing I just kind of came to mind is we're here in what we call Severe Weather Awareness Week right now, and we're talking about tornadoes and severe thunderstorms. One of the things we talk about is flash flooding. And when I think about urban creeks in North Carolina, whether it's Charlotte, Greensboro, Raleigh, wherever, that can often be a site of flash flooding. Is that something you guys see every year? And do you have any safety tips for people that, if you just get caught in a summer storm out there, what should they be watching for if there's any warning signs of that?
Absolutely. We get lots of flash flooding around here. Like I said, we have a lot of water around Mecklenburg County. Major safety thing we have here is turn around, don't drown. You can be swept away in just a foot of water. So if you are driving and you come across a flooded overpass, just turn around. Don't try to cross it. And then there are lots of things to stay prepared in your home. But the main thing for safety is just being aware, looking at your notifications, checking out the fin system to see where our water levels are, and making sure you are prepared.
Yeah, and the fin system, for people that aren't familiar with that, it is a great system. They've got gauges, cameras, and for us, which is really cool, Tim, and you may have looked at this down our way, we've got this network of rain gauges all across Mecklenburg County. And every time I tell people, hey, we always show the airport rainfall. If you want to see a rainfall total closer to your house, go to the fins page, right, Taylor?
Yeah.
You can find some. They're mostly at schools and churches, and just about every neighborhood in Charlotte has a rain gauge pretty close by. How many gauges do you guys have now? Do you know?
Oh, no, that's a hard question.
I was trying to think too. I'm like, it's a lot. It's a really diverse.
I feel like it's over 30.
Yeah,
but I don't know the exact number.
It's funny. I have 2 weather stations in my house. Obviously, I'm a big weather geek, but I live close to South Meck High School. I always check the fin gauge there to kind of compare, because it's literally across the street from my house. So if I feel like my gauge is off, I can go check and compare, and it's pretty close. But that's a great resource if you're curious about water levels. You want to see the levels of the creeks or see rain gauge data. It's really, really useful, Tim. We're almost out of time, Tim. You got any more questions for Taylor?
I think that about covers it, but it's amazing to me just how many creeks there are in our cities, especially in Charlotte. And I love how we keep this green space. Whenever we have cities in North Carolina, you're never too far away from green spaces. I think that's just something that we should all work to preserve as best that we can.
Yeah, and I was commenting, Taylor, about how great Charlotte is about, preserving these greenways. The greenways serve a great purpose for us, Taylor, right? They're great recreation areas, but they're supposed to flood. That's like where we want the water to go, so it doesn't go into businesses. And you guys have done a great job of doing buybacks, taking homes that are in the floodplain. And I think people get worried when they see the greenways flood, but oftentimes I know I've talked to you guys before. It's like, no, that's what's supposed to happen.
Absolutely.
That's where we want the water to go.
That's how they were designed. Yeah. So it's not in the stores and in the homes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it might mess up the running trail or the bike path, but that's what we want. And just be careful because it's pretty muddy sometimes after the water does go down. And I've seen some epic flash floods on the Greenway, and I'm like, that is so cool. I'm glad it's not at my house. But Taylor, thank you so much. You guys do a great job at Stormwater Services, and they really do. It's an amazing organization, and for the city and county, they do a great job for us down here, and really does help mitigate a lot of the flooding we see, Tim.